I'd like to call the Plan Commission meeting to order for Monday, March 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Roll call and declaration of a quorum by Secretary Parker.
Cronin.
Here.
Zagami.
Here.
Ermeling.
Here.
Gurnt is excused. Jordan.
Here.
Mumford.
Here.
Sentinel.
Present.
Mark Maloney, is excused, I guess, decent.
Yes.
Item number 3, Milt, are you online?
Yes.
Do you want
Want to
to?
call roll call in the ETZ committee? Valerie?
Olson.
Here.
Cronin.
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Gurnt is excused. Hull.
Here.
And Mumford.
Here.
All right, public comments. Do we have anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a public comment? And if you'd like to make a comment on a specific agenda item, you can make that comment now, or we can wait till that agenda item. Second time, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment? And third time, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment? Hearing none.
Sorry,
Somebody
this is
online?
Scott Sanders, Property Group. Sorry about the audio lag. I'm here to answer any questions on the Ambrose presentation.
Okay, do you want to speak on your agenda item, sir?
Yeah, if questions come up, Greg Kozel's in the room, but if questions come up, I'm here to answer as well. So I wanted to put my name on record, and I can send my information to Jennifer and team.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, minutes from previous meetings. Number 4, minutes from February 13th, 2023, joint PC and ETZ meeting.
Move to approve for planning commission. Second.
Motion by Jordan, second by Ermeling. On the question, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? So carried.
Is there a motion to approve the ETZ meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes approved.
Okay, communications, disclosures, and recusals. Members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals during this time. Do we have any? No? All right, item number 5, written communications received. All right, no communications received. Public hearings. Item number 6, ordinance number 23-006. An ordinance to amend provisions within chapter 94 of the municipal code affecting detached accessory structures for non-residential use and temporary shelters. This is for PC and ETZ. I'll open the public hearing and presentation by applicant and or staff.
So based off of our meeting last time, I went back and talked with Mark Roffers, who had been helping me with this. We made some additional changes to the ordinance to take care of some of the concerns that had come out in the town with the ag buildings. So those have been addressed. And also to add the RM district to this. In the meantime, I was asked to actually put back in the fire, the information for, or the little blip about the fire training. I'm trying to find where it is. So 1B, adding the structure for fire department training to be in there as an exemption also. Otherwise, this should meet the needs of the salt shed and also the things that were brought up by the commissioners last month.
Wasn't it the fire department structure that we had concerns with?
You had asked to remove it. I removed it, and then following the fire commission meeting, I was asked to put it in by Chair Cronin.
So we had some discussion, and Chief Finke is here tonight if you'd like to have him come up and address any concerns. But we had a pretty healthy discussion at the Safer, meeting. And, I think what they're gonna do is gonna not cause any issues over there, but if, Chief, do you wanna come up and address some concerns or?
So this will only allow that structure for the fire department. We will still have to deal in the future at another time with the non-residential use of those.
Yeah, because there's some now that are around it.
Right, there's some there now. It just hasn't been a high priority.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody has any specific questions for me, but the intent of these, there would be no live burning in there. I know some departments do that, but in my mind, they're not designed for that. There are structures designed for that. This is not one of them. The liability to the fire district to be too high to do that. So there'd be a structure very similar to what you see pictured on the screen right now. Would be well maintained on a gravel pad to be utilized by our guys. Probably, I mean, it could vary, but I'm gonna say on an average of 2 to 4 times each month, maybe a little bit less in the winter. But mainly a lot of search and rescue type training that are in there. We have machines where we can make fake smoke and we can smoke those up to simulate an actual fire and train our firefighters in there for search and rescue training. And then eventually it'll be built out to do things like confined space and those types of things too. So these are pretty common. They're becoming more common across the country for fire, police, and military, actually.
Do other municipalities have something similar to this, like, for example, Wausau and?
Wausau does not. The closest one I'm aware of is Stratford. Fire Department has one behind their fire station. I know there are others, I just don't know exactly where they are.
Your plan is to letter it up and make it say safer with your logo and look nice.
Yep, we would paint it red, a nice red paint, and we can certainly put our logo on it. We can put, training system or something on it. We could come up with some wording to make it, so the public is aware of what it is. It's not just a storage container. I mean, I personally think we can flip it around to be a good thing in the eye of the public and that our guys have the ability to train right on our grounds. Obviously NTC does they have a fabulous training ground in Merrill, but we just can't go there. I mean, we can't leave the station obviously during the day to go to Merrill for training. So it's really, other than when our guys go do their initial training, we really can't go up there and utilize that, unfortunately.
Would this be for our department or would other close departments be using this facility as well?
The intention is for us. However, if, Riverside or Ringgold or one of those departments that we work with frequently wanted to come over and do some joint training with us, or if they wanted to use it for an evening or something like that, I personally would not have a problem with that.
Jennifer, would that be prohibited right now?
Yes.
Why?
It's not allowed right now.
Because the storage containers are stacked? Because we can have storage containers right now, right?
No, we can't. So
In institutional or?
they're not addressed in the code. So we're trying to put them in the code so that so if they want to do this, we need to put it in the code now so that we are compliant, and then we need to work later on to address the situation out in our commercial and industrial areas. There are really no regulations for it. We only have them for the residential.
Okay.
And that's the way that the commission at the time had wanted. They didn't want to address it. We tried to, I don't even remember when that was.
Right now, it's not prohibited, it's just not called out that you can do it.
If it's not in the code and addressed in the code, then it is prohibited. We don't have the enforcement capability right now, and just with COVID, there was a lot of things that we were just allowing them to do out in the industrial park and the commercial areas. And I just don't have the staff right now to be the police of these.
I would hope we continue to allow it in the industrial park.
Yeah, but we have to come up with regulations to allow it. And the ones that we brought the last time, one of the commissioners did not want to go through with it and nobody voted on it. So I'd have to relook at it. I don't know if you were on the commission at the time.
I was not. It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was virtually attending the meeting.
I would hope that they would be able to tell you if we're gonna allow where they're going to put them or where they can put, I mean,
We'd have to.
there's one area that I can see.
We have to
where
come
they
up with
just got one
regulations.
stacked over here and one over here, and it's terrible.
Yeah. That's a discussion for another day, but yes. This would allow them to do it. It would be strictly for this type of vehicle.
Okay.
It's not, they're not storing anything in them. To be honest with you, these can, I mean, I had heard the city of Wausau, some of those groups were looking at them. In some communities, they use them for the homeless population, so they become homes for people. So it's not an issue we're gonna take care of tonight, so we need to look at that a little bit further.
Does this make their training tower compliant now? Or whatever, I don't know, that big,
Splash tower.
sure.
I'm not even sure how that was done. It was probably done as an accessory structure.
Right, but now it would be a structure for department training, right? That's what it is?
Yeah,
Correct.
yes, that was done in a different code and I did not take the time to research. I found a building permit, but it never went through site plan. It went through at the same time that the communication tower was going in, so I not real sure. It was prior to the code right now, so.
Anybody have anything else for Chief Finke?
Thanks. I'll be in the back of the room if anything comes up.
All right. Public comment period. Do we have anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment on this matter? Second time, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment? And third and final time, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Recommendation from staff.
Staff recommends approval as presented.
And discussion recommendation to the Board of Trustees by the Plan Commission and ETZ.
And this is gonna be right over by the public safety building?
Yes.
Where exactly?
I don't think I have the map on there. It's back in the corner of the parking lot, so when you're looking at the building from Schoenberg, it's way off on the right-hand side, corner in the back. I believe there's two buildings, kind of where there's a fire hydrant right there.
By that shed.
Yeah, that shed is the training tower.
Splash tower.
Okay, but it's gonna be right in that,
Right back in that area. They'll have to
there's a
provide.
garage there or something, big garage, okay.
It'll be behind this garage?
No.
We didn't. So my initial plan was to put it behind the splash tower. Yeah, right where the mouse is right now. When we had our safer board meeting, President Maloney suggested, he said, maybe it's something we should be proud of and put it in the spot in front of the shed, so completely even more to the south. Nope, down in that grass there. He said maybe we should put some gravel there and make it look nice and show it off a little bit as a training facility. As far as where it gets put, I personally don't have a lot of opinion one way or the other. Either way is really fine.
Well, okay.
It'll have to go through,
I'm sorry?
it'll have to go through accessory structure, setbacks, things like that, so.
Yeah,
That'll get looked at.
it'll come back to us.
No, this would just be for staff review. I mean, you can have it come back if you'd like, but it doesn't need to.
Still has to meet the setback from the property line
Yeah.
and everything else.
It'll have to meet the requirements. They get approved.
I would hide that, in my opinion, only my opinion, I would hide that thing as much as possible.
I don't know if it can be in the front offhand.
Yeah.
It's considered an accessory structure because it's not gonna meet the principal structure requirements, so it's probably gonna have to be in the back.
You can paint it however you want, but, I still think it's not very nice. And, again, you can logo it, you can do whatever you want to it from the outside, but, it's basically, it's always gonna be a two-story, shipping container is what it looks like. And I think it always will look like that. So I mean, we can still be proud of it, but I'd, for my 2 cents worth, I'd hide it as much as possible.
I think putting it back right where the other structure is makes more sense.
Just a point of order, this is solely on just adding this to the code to allow it. It's gonna have to go back to Jen, or if we'd like, have it come back here. So where it's gonna go, I guess, is probably a conversation for a different meeting, but.
Can you pull page 22 back up, please? So this is on the, we're good on the fire stuff now, I think, right? On the hoop house or salt shed or whatever you want to call it. It limits to a maximum of 2. Is there a reason why we have that?
I think it's because that is I think that is what comes up with, when you do the green space requirements with the maximum size. I don't remember exactly, but I know that was, Michael, do you remember from Mark?
I don't on that sizing. I mean,
I have a question on the size too, because it says combined floor area can not exceed 15% of principal structure. So if we look at, I don't know, American wood fiber, like we talked about the last meeting, that structure likely exceeds.
That's gonna be a principal structure.
Okay, so if that were their auxiliary or accessory structure and the principal structure were the other one that existed first, are we
We
gonna
have to
let?
have a minimum, so I guess if we get to a point where it doesn't work for something, we can address that at that time. That was what was suggested, based off of other pieces of the code.
Yeah, so I would agree that I can think of lots of situations where 15% is probably not enough. How would you propose, Jennifer, that you would consider somebody that comes with something larger than 15%?
We would probably bring it before you guys.
As a conditional use permit thing then,
It's
or?
not listed as conditional use now, but it would be looked at on if it made sense to change the code, we would bring it before you. Anybody always has that opportunity.
Well, why the 15% then?
I think, to be honest with you, I don't know exactly why it's that way. It was what was suggested. I can see Mark helped me with this, so.
Michael, would our salt shed even meet that 15%?
it does, yeah. You know, so
Was that intent or is that how?
so the salt shed would be, I think, like 7,000, 8,000 square feet. 15% of the building is like 15,000, 16,000 square feet.
But this is a
And
huge
I
building.
kind of think that's where it came
Yes.
from, Jen, was the initial consideration of the salt shed.
Yeah, so if
Coming up with
you're looking at a large manufacturing or somebody that's, you know, in the business park who maybe doesn't have a large manufacturing, you know, roof area, but would have need for storage.
Basically, if it's over 2,000 square feet, it becomes a principal structure based off of the code. So it moves into a different, it's not considered an accessory structure anymore.
So even that salt shed wouldn't be an accessory. So if these hoop houses are more than 2,000 square feet, then they don't count against it anyways?
The hoop houses are different
Or
if they're in
whatever we call it, I don't know.
the agricultural area.
But I think their question is, so,
Do we want to allow anything more than 15% as a
Yeah.
conditional use?
I mean, even like an egg, I guess that'd be a question.
Right.
Or wait, this is just referencing industrial, institutional, you know, so, or I mean, if the principal building is a residential house, I mean, somebody, I guess, wouldn't have much room for this structure.
Let me see, I'm going through my emails.
I guess the other question is there a different percentage that we,
Are these considered accessory structures in age? Or considered principal structures in age?
Because you asked the question to Mark about that.
I did, because initially it was smaller than 15%, it was,
It was 10.
yeah.
Do we have any situations now where it's more than 15%?
Well, I'm just thinking of some buildings I've seen myself, you know, so one of the things I was considering once upon a time at our farm was putting up a horse arena. So in looking at some of these hoop buildings as a horse arena.
I think that falls under something different though, a horse arena does.
Okay, so, but I'm just saying as an example, you know, the horse arena was on a farm. It certainly far exceeded the size of their office or their home office, you know, so to speak. And when you think about other uses like a greenhouse, and again, I don't know if greenhouse is exactly the right way to describe that, but somebody that wants the light coming into their building, in a situation where they're using it for something like that, I could see, you know, different opportunities where that building would be larger than the principal building that would be on the property.
They're probably not gonna be an industrial or institutional.
Okay.
They could be
Yeah,
in
that's
the
a fair
rural
point
mix,
too.
but
This is only addressing institutional, industrial, and rural mix.
Not egg.
It's not limited in the ag,
it's not limited in the ag zone.
Right,
So an egg, you could build it as big as you want.
right?
correct.
It just limits it in those. And typically you've got a giant building already there, so I think some of it is just not exceeding 15% of that building. I mean, some of those buildings are big.
Yeah, so I
You could
can't,
still
yeah,
have a pretty
so
big one.
I don't feel like I'm in a position to ask for some other number necessarily. It's just that 15% of the, I think it's gonna put us in a box and not too far down the road where somebody comes with something, whatever. And then how do you address it? I
Well,
guess
that would
it's-
just be industrial, institutional, or the road.
Can you change it not to exceed 15% without planning commission hearing or something?
You just make it a conditional use.
You're gonna make it a conditional use.
It's not like you're gonna have a pile of these, right? You'll have more fence permits than this thing.
Yeah, you could make that change and I can figure out how to do it before Monday.
Do what?
To add it as a conditional use to exceed the 15%. Because then it requires a public hearing and then the neighbors around it would be notified, so that's.
Yeah, right, that'd be a fair way to.
We might just be changing that, like adding a sentence and then I'll have to do something on the chart probably.
You good? Anything else?
I'm good.
What's your pleasure?
I'll move to recommend the proposed changes to the municipal code with the, as proposed with the exception for the 15% conditional use to be determined by staff and forwarded to the Board of Trustees.
Motion by Mumper,
I'll second.
second by Jordan for planning. On the question, Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Milt, you still with us?
You're muted.
We need the same motion from the ETZ committee.
Yes, please.
So is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move to recommend the exact same for the ETZ, exact same motion. Or do I need to delineate the wording?
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right. I said, I don't know what the rest of the planning and ETZ think here, but we have another item, item number 10, proposed changes to procedural requirements. I'm proposing moving that forward real quick so we can get the ETZ adjourned. Does anybody have any objection to that? Bring item number 10 forward and handle that real quick. All right, so we're going to jump ahead to item number 10, proposed changes to procedural requirements within the PD plan development and N neighborhood zoning districts, PC and ETZ.
So I was able to get this done, or at least in a draft form. At the last meeting, I was asked to start working on some changes to the PD and zoning district, basically to remove the requirement for a pre-conference with PC. It does allow for it to still happen, but basically they would be going through the pre-conference with staff like they do now. And then also it allows for us to combine the GDP and the SIP approval steps into one. So if you have a smaller project, like some of the ones that we've had lately, they are able to go right to that SIP. So that was basically the changes.
Anybody have any
If anyone has
questions?
any questions?
I do. What was the size and quantity of hard copies that were requested for intercity, tidal wash, and quick trip, the last three PD requests? Or are we not really doing that?
Require them.
What's that?
We don't require hard copies.
Can we remove that then, please?
Sure.
On page 86, I think.
86 of the packet.
Yes. For that paragraph too, yeah.
Anybody have anything else? I'll entertain a motion.
This would basically come as a public hearing next month.
Okay. Do we just need an acknowledgement or is this just for discussion?
This was for discussion. You can make a motion to have staff schedule the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to the staff for this public hearing for the next meeting.
Motion by Ermeling, second by Zagami for planning. On the question, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Is there a motion from the ETZ committee to approve the same motion?
So move.
Is there a second? Motion made and second to make the changes necessary and schedule a public hearing for the ETZ. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Milt, I think that's it for the ETZ. So if you guys want to adjourn, you're welcome to.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the ETZ committee?
So Move.
There's a second?
Second.
Motion made second to adjourn the extraterritorial zoning committee for March 13th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
All right, so for planning, we're gonna go back to item number 7. Thank you, everyone from ETG. Item 7, project number 2023-0040. Greg Cozio, Ambrose Property Group, 8888 Keystone Crossing, Suite 1150, Indianapolis, Indiana, on behalf of Anthony and Diane Marisi, 710 West Azalea Drive, Chandler, Arizona, requesting a rezone of approximately 16.58 acres of land at 7007 County Road J from B3 General Business Zoning District to LI Limited Industrial Zoning District. PIN number 192-2808-244-0991. I'll open the public hearing. And presentation by applicant and or staff.
Thank you, Michael.
Yep. Sir, if you wouldn't mind stating your name and address for the record as well.
Absolutely. Greg Koziel, Senior Development Manager with Ambrose Property Group, 888 Keystone Crossing, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46240. Today, prior to introducing the project, we are joined today by our civil engineer, Kimley Horn. Just if there's any Q&A, I just prefer that to be at the end of the presentation. We have plenty of time for any questions or anything specific details we can run through, as well as our representatives from our client that we represent. But due to the non-disclosure that we currently have signed, we cannot disclose at this time. We also are joined in by phone from Ambrose representative Scott Sanders, Vice President of Development as well, and our civil engineer, Morgan Nelson. As you can see, I'll kick off this presentation just highlighting our unique designation. We may refer to this project as Project Timberwolf. It's representative of a local sports affiliate here nearby, but we refer to this project as Project Timberwolf under the NDA. Next slide. Here briefly, I'll go through at least 6 or 7 slides introducing who Ambrose is, what we do, what the project looks like, the current zoning, the existing zoning we're trying to achieve, and then a little bit more about our project and it's kind of the local support that we have so far to date. And then we'll go through Q&A. Okay, a little bit about Ambrose. Ambrose is a privately held Indianapolis-based developer, traditionally worked with logistics, industrial, e-commerce organizations, looking to enhance their supply operations. We travel nationwide, represent our clients and their organizations. We were founded in 2008. I want to be as transparent as possible. As I mentioned previously, we are under an NDA, and while I want to share whom our client is, at this point, I can only do it at some point down the road. I will not be sharing that information today. We are an experienced developer. I just want to highlight that. Our team is 40 plus in Indianapolis. We do projects like this all day long, very similar in size and type of operation. For the staff, thank you. We have a history of building Class A facilities that benefit enhanced communities. Next slide. A brief history about the project. And while we have submitted a history as well as an operational summary through the staff's submission, I'll go through a brief synopsis of our site. It's located along County Road J and Christie Lane, Highway 29, 16.58 acres. We are adjacent to the Weston Business Park and Technology Industrial Park. I wanted to highlight something for the team. This was a multi-market search. We had 5 locations that we identified. We were meticulous about the site selection, and we identified Weston as a very business-friendly area. I'll highlight in the next slide, but not just yet, the surrounding businesses that surround this parcel. We're currently zoned for B3. It once was GI, back in 2015, was rezoned to commercial. And now we are seeking a rezoning to LI, light industrial, based on the staff's recommendation. Next slide. Our zoning summary here. We, as I mentioned, are nearby, GI, general industrial, E3, general business, and limited industrial surrounding our site. That includes Cap Rental, Lincoln Contractor Supply, Dollar General, Kind Materials, and Dan's Parts and Equipment. We are proposing to go to LI, and we feel, as it would fall under other jurisdictions, our uses of our development would fall under a commercial type designation. Although under this designation in the village of Weston, we were referred to rezone to light industrial, as some of the uses do fall better under that category. Next slide. Here we have highlighted the proposed development plan and operations. As I mentioned previously, it's adjacent to County Road J and Christie Lane. Currently, Christie Lane is undeveloped, but we're showing it as a developed road accessing our site. It's a variable height building. It ranges from 32 feet tall at the frontage to 25 feet tall in the loading area, with a canopy overseeing the loading operations. Approximately 80,000 square feet, and we're looking to designate this as a light industrial distribution facility. Some of the operations that we've highlighted in the staff report include packaging, receiving, sorting, and storing. Next slide. We propose for this project to have a property investment of up to 20 million. That includes the building and infrastructure. We have designated for job creation of up to 100 full and part-time positions. We do plan to have a community involvement. While we will have full part-time positions opening when the building is launched, we do want to involve the community during any construction portion of the project. So we have outreach programs to include subcontractors and material suppliers to help support this project locally. We feel, as we were identifying Weston as very business friendly, we feel the investment aligns with the goals of the comprehensive plan of Weston. Being a good neighbor, this highlights some of the landscaping that we have proposed, the site plan in a little bit more detail. I'll highlight there is a 80,000 square foot facility surrounded by auto parking, truck parking, and delivery and van parking as well to the south. There is a portion of the site that is wetlands, and that will remain. We will not be impacting too much of the wetlands to the south. We want to ensure that the exterior facade and building materials and any outdoor screening plus landscaping meets any code variances. We'll ensure that that does occur. Right now, this is currently in design, but we want to ensure, we've read the code, and we want to ensure that while it's visible from Highway 29, we'll meet those expectations. For the team, we are moving as fast as we can. We are partnering with Plan Commission and the village. We appreciate their support to date. We do plan on starting this summer if all approvals go, and then at sometime next year will be completed. Next slide. I wanted to highlight some of the team that we've already engaged, some of the local support. While we have our civil engineer here, Kimley Horn, CESO is our architect and mechanical, electrical, fire protection engineer. Wallace Structural and Dialectic Engineering are involved in the project. We have engaged Giles Engineering. We have also engaged Star Environmental for wetland review and for our survey for and last slide, it would be a Q&A, just discussing anything from our rezoning to light industrial, any questions of Plan Commission. Okay, for the team. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
What is your anticipated traffic count?
Our anticipated traffic count, so currently under review. We're assessing the site and the county highway right now and reached out to them. We're performing some desktop reviews currently. In the near future, we'll have a traffic study present. What we have done is, while we're looking to go light industrial, we've compared it to comprehensive review of a business, commercial business, and it's comparable to the traffic counts that you see from a commercial business, if not less.
Well, I've got some experience in distribution. And the site has an awful lot of auto parking on it. I'm trying to figure out why so many car parking spots or what you call a van parking spot.
Sure, happy to address that. If we can go back to the colorful slide that shows the next one up. It's purple and red and yellow. Thank you. In blue, it would be van parking. In purple is van staging. In yellow, auto parking. And red would be truck parking. And while we understand, yeah, there's different criteria for parking, this is the best flow and layout to the site. We're accessing the site off Christie Lane. There's no access off County Road J.
So this business uses delivery vans that you're parking there, is that? Or I'm like I say, trying to.
Sure. Yes, there is delivery van usage at our site. There's also box trucks, line haul trucks for delivery overnight, as well as auto parking.
So how many parking is there?
234 van parking and auto parking, say roughly 150 or so.
We have requirement for that, don't we? How many do we have?
Well, they'll have to go through site plan review. I don't know what their requirement is offhand, but yeah, we're just talking about the zoning.
This is just zoning. This isn't, it'll have to come back.
Yeah, I get that.
Did you say that you were gonna be slightly impacting the wetlands or not impacting it at all?
Yes. So currently with this designation to the lower southern portion of the site, there's a wetland area. Currently, as we sit today, we can't delineate that until April or May at best case. So once we do delineate the wetland area to the south, our best guess based on this design, we're impacting less than 10,000 square feet. If we impact anything more than 10,000 square feet, we're adjusting the parking count essentially. This shows max without the lengthy permit process or any major impact wetlands.
Jennifer, is Christie Lane an actual dedicated right of way? I know we had some projects come before us here in the last 365 days that have had some right of way that existed, but didn't exist, and then we put a house there and it was a whole big thing. So in the packet, it shows the parking lot is in the right of way, but that may just be how it printed on here too.
Christie Lane does not extend east of County J. I guess you only mean that Christie Lane because Christie Lane is on the opposite side of the street. I know we had this discussion when we met.
Yes.
That's a private easement.
Yeah.
For county materials to reach their property to the east. So there is no public right of way on that north property line.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight that. We show it developed, it's currently not developed. But we're highlighting that as an extension of Christie Lane on the other side of County Road J.
So you will develop it, it will be private road, right?
That's correct.
Yep.
Anybody have anything else? Did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did.
All right, awesome. Koziel?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have anything else from Mr. Koziel? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Public comment period. Is there anybody online or here in the audience that wishes to make a public comment on this matter? Second time, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment? And third time, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Recommendation from staff.
Staff recommends approval of the rezone request.
And discussion and recommendation to the Board of Trustees by the Plan Commission on the rezone.
I'll make a motion to move this on to the village board as presented.
We have a motion by Deason.
Second.
Second by Mumper. On the question?
Yes. Jennifer, can this development take place in B3 or only in LI?
But the uses that they've got a few uses that need the LI. So they can't take place.
And so this would be a what is it called in our code that needs LI?
The distribution center.
Sure. And that requires a conditional use permit, correct? Pull up chapter 94, we can check.
While she's looking into that, I have a comment for the rest of planning. My thought, I know we have a motion on the floor, but my thought was to make whatever motion we make here contingent on this development being built. So we don't fall into a situation where we rezone it to LI, this falls through and the property owner then can put whatever he wants on it. Just my thought.
I think it makes a lot of
I
sense.
can,
That makes a lot of sense.
I assume that this transaction is contingent on the rezone, right? The sale of the property or the lease or the however we're working, okay?
You can't make it contingent.
we can't.
No, you can't contingent rezone. This is an area that's gonna have to be readdressed in the village anyway. It was basically looked at for industrial. The uses across the street are industrial. It was changed back in 2015 when the, basically a part of Business Park South was going to be a baseball facility, indoor baseball facility down there, or an outdoor facility. So when they were looking at that and putting the comprehensive plan in place, we figured that would be an area where there would probably be more retail coming from that. Now that that's not going to be there, I anticipate you'll probably have more uses such as this around that intersection because it's too far away from, basically everyone wants to be no further than Cat Phillips. So that'll be an area that we will have to discuss when we bring the comprehensive plan, future land use map back up later this year. It's on the fringe right now anyway, the Kufal pit area and the concrete county materials pit is there, and that's already zoned LI. The way that the comp plan is on those fringe areas, it can basically go either way depending on what the development is being. So you have that option to change it, because comprehensive plan is just supposed to be a generalized area kind of thing. It's not specific to parcels. The way the map comes out, it typically looks that way.
Okay.
So, but you cannot condition a zoning. It's either you're okay with it or you're not.
So to Chair Cronin's point, this is, or if we move to rezone this tonight, which I'm in favor of, and it goes to the board next week and they agree with that. What if it disappears next week? Say again?
You could rezone it back. You'd have to go
Okay.
through the process. I mean,
So-
anything could be rezoned back.
Very well.
The plan commission, the board can do that.
Okay.
You just have to follow the process.
So does that take action by the property owner? Right? Are we gonna tie his or her hands saying, hey, look, well, now we rezoned it to this, so now you're stuck in this basket, you can only sell to this?
You have the ability to rezone properties at the plan commission. The property owner can. Originally, this was rezoned. I mean, they get notified. We notified the entire village. Properties changed during that time. Some of them went to commercial, some of them went to industrial. But basically, the plan commission and the board is tasked with creating the land uses for the village, so. It just has to go to public hearing, but
We
the
just have to
property
redo
owner,
it again if this development fell through, right?
yes.
And there was something else that needed to go on that
Yeah, you just have to follow the process.
tied to this forever. Okay.
Okay. Did you get your question answered?
We're still waiting on a conditional use.
So if you look at it, it's only a conditional use if it abuts residential property.
Can you pull that up? Yeah, so Michael, it's
94-4. And then it's going to.
It's under the transportation land uses.
Okay, so 94-407. Number 4, the first performance standard states that the conditional use permit and buffer yard meeting requirements of section 94-1102 shall be provided along all property borders abutting residential zone properties, which this one does not.
Yeah, looking at the zoning map, it doesn't look like it's.
No, it's not
residential.
adjacent, so it's down further for distribution.
Yeah, so it's that first performance standard there, which would make it a conditional use.
Buffer yard requirement. Yeah, I just saw that in your chart, Jennifer, which shows all the different
Right.
uses.
Yep.
It says it's conditional there.
It says P/C, so what that means is, we have a couple of them that are like that, so when you see that in the chart, you have to go look at the performance standard, because there's usually something that makes it have to go to a conditional use permit. It's usually based around residential, the alcohol areas are like that too.
I only saw them all with Cs. I thought it was strange that a trucking terminal, if you will,
Yeah, it's
all
just-
with a C.
It's P/C.
Only conditional use, and we're gonna hold these guys up for a conditional use permit.
No, it's not.
Very well.
It's not adjacent to residential.
All right, anything further on the discussion of the motion? So we had a motion, it was by Deason, seconded by Mumper. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Do you guys have to do the determination on that?
You do.
Oh, yeah, we do. Sorry. That's my fault. All right, so we'll read through the determination. Is the proposed rezoning consistent with the comprehensive plan as is required by Wisconsin statutes?
Yes.
Yes. Does the rezoning further the purpose and intent of this chapter?
Yes.
Yes. Does rezoning address any of the following that are not properly addressed on the current official zoning map? Number 1, a mistake was made in mapping on the official zoning map. That is, an area is or has developed in a manner and purpose different from that for which it is mapped. If the reason is cited, it must be demonstrated that the discussed inconsistency between actual land use and designated zoning is not intended, as the village may intend to stop an undesirable land use pattern from being perpetuated. 2, factors have changed, such as the availability of new data, presence of new roads or other infrastructure, additional development, annexation, or other zoning changes, making the subject property more appropriate for a different zoning district. Number 3, growth patterns or rates have changed, thereby creating the need for a rezone.
Not applicable.
One, I guess.
You could make an argument that it would apply to all 3 of those.
Yeah, you could.
You could.
Yeah, 2 and 3, I mean, essentially it was
Yeah.
zoned that way because of a different development. That
One,
was,
I don't think it
Same
was a
with
mistake, it was zoned as, you know,
So 2,
at that time.
2 and 3?
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Does the proposed zoning district maintain the desired consistency of land uses, land use intensities and land use impacts as related to the end rounds of the subject property?
Yes.
Yes.
All righty, we already made our motion, so
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, it'll go to the planning or the board on Monday.
All right, item number 8. Project number 20220392, Ryan Street Rentals LLC. Conditional use permit to construct and operate a personal storage facility within the LI Limited Industrial Zoning District per section 94.4.06 parent 3 on property known as 6508 Ryan Street. PIN number 192-2808-221-0985. So it's deferred by the Plan Commission to March 13th, 2023, meeting on 2/13 of 23. So we have discussion and action on the conditional use permits.
So they do have a site plan that they have submitted to staff. Staff has gone through it. We did outline a couple of things that we had concerns with. They are planning to phase, and I think you need to talk to them about their phasing, and how the neighborhood is going to be, the lesson, the impact to the neighborhood during that phasing based off of some of the discussion at that December meeting with the fences. So just to remind you, you're allowing them to use a fence in between the buildings, but the buildings are going to be done in phases and those are included there. And I can kind of have them explain their project. I mean, we've gone through, stormwater is fine, setbacks are fine. They have the appropriate buffer there. It would just be when that buffer is actually being installed. It looks like it's not until after phase 2. And then we don't have a real handle on what the buildings are exactly gonna look like. I mean, we kind of know, but just based off of the applicant not wanting to get those provided plans without knowing that this project is moving forward. But they can explain a little bit more about it, and I guess that's just my concern is the phasing.
You want me to state my name?
Yes, please.
Brian Delisle, 1100 West Street, Weston, Wisconsin. I know we were here in, I believe, December. With REI's help, we completed all the things that arose from that meeting, trying to address them, landscape plan, and created this phasing part. The phasing, I would like it to go a little quicker. It's just, I can't even get a building this year. So like everything. I do realize that, we are gonna remove that old fence this year, clean up along the lot line, and try and seed those areas, complete the infiltration pond, install a binder course in the front portion of the property to the east. That was supposed to be done a while ago. Act as a tracking pad. Yeah, and I mean, these are going to look like every other storage unit. Standing seam roof, I'm gonna call it a light beige or sand color on the wall steel and the fence to match, which is going to be a solid vinyl screening fence, 8 feet tall. And we would like to do some sort of maroon roof color. Yeah, I guess I think I covered everything that we kind of had some speculation with the last meeting.
How tall is the fence?
The fence is 8 feet tall.
And chain link fence?
No, solid vinyl screening fence. Yeah, that looks like a white fence, but it's going to be a sand or beige color to match the color of the wall tin on the storage units.
Is that gonna be put on a berm or just, no?
No, we can't do the berm because of the drainage in between the buildings going into the swales.
Okay. Was there, I thought I remember some discussion about security too.
Yes, we are going to install cameras on the property And then we have decided to go with a keypad entry. The code can be changed at any time. There's probably 100,000 different sequence of numbers. Wanted to do the card, but just talking with people, the cards get expensive, they get lost, they get handed over to somebody else, where if we do see an issue, we can eliminate that person's code and you know, reissue everybody one, or however we do that. I haven't put an exact pencil to it, but that seems to be the best option.
So at this point, Brian, then you have no intention of actually putting any buildings up in 2023?
No.
On that point, so the fence is gonna come down this summer?
Yes.
So is there gonna be no fence?
No fence.
Until everything's done, which potentially 2025?
No, we are going to pour 2 of the slabs, and our hopes are to put up the 4 buildings on the north property line next year. So the fence that can go up will go up around the infiltration pond on the western part of the property. And once those buildings get put up next year, put the fences in between, there's your completed screening from the residential part.
Okay. So by the end of next year, those residents will have some sort of.
The finished screening.
Okay.
Would you be opposed to install, you're gonna do all the dirt work this year, right?
Yeah, that is the intention, yes.
So would you be opposed to, we're tearing the fence down, could we put something, could we put these trees so they get an extra year head start? Trees, bushes.
Along the north.
On the north side is part of phase 1.
Yes, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I just
In the way
worry
of your
about
buildings
something getting destroyed and, pouring the concrete, the other 2 slabs and building construction.
20 feet away though, right?
Okay, yeah, I would definitely entertain that.
Just in the spirit of being good neighbors, I just think
Yes.
there are a lot of people in here
Yeah,
2 months ago
looking at where
with
the-
valid concerns, so.
The drainage ditches, putting the landscaping on the other side of that drainage ditch now would probably be a good plan anyhow. And as long as it's on the other side of the drainage ditch, you really shouldn't have mechanical equipment that would damage it, so. So to your point, in the spirit of being a good neighbor, if you could get some of that done this year, I think that would go a long ways towards helping with that relationship.
Okay. I'd just like to, obviously this year, take that old decrepit fence down before it becomes an issue, so.
Sure.
Otherwise, I would propose leaving that up till the end, but I would rather eliminate future issues with that. So, yes, I agree, planting the trees, shrubs, whatever it may be along there to help the temporary screening process until the buildings and the fences up between those buildings.
And these are gonna be actual, like, real trees, not just a 2-foot high bush.
But that's the intention, yes, actual trees. It should be spec'd out and, yes.
Yeah, we didn't get a landscape plan, I don't think.
Yeah.
Let me just see here.
Basically, very minimal. I shouldn't say minimal, it's just a thin.
But from the way it sounds, you're gonna clean up that area so they aren't looking at that whole building and the.
Yes, exactly, yes,
So that at least if they don't have a fence, they don't have junk either.
yes.
Have construction there.
How early in 24 can we get those buildings up with the fence?
I'm pushing pretty hard to try and get a date. The problem with one supplier, I guess, is they're moving their plant or they built a new one, so they are backlogged into November already. So I'm hoping we can get an order for the 4 along the northern property line at least and get that going. I'm also exploring a different manufacturer, same type of building, just a different manufacturer, somebody that can get something rolling a little quicker.
Are these metal buildings as opposed to pole barn style?
Yes, they're a structural steel stud with structural steel stud rafters. So right now, that's the system we would like to go with. It is all, it's steel frame and steel sheeting. I guess the other thing, I don't know if it would be addressed at this meeting, but another avenue I'm exploring is doing a wood frame steel facade. That is something that we can make happen sooner.
Anybody have any other questions?
The phasing the asphalt, is that, so can we get the phasing thing down? So this year, we can clean up the north property line.
Really, the whole property is going to be cleaned up.
Is there's some demo too, right? That existing.
Yes, that existing
That'll all take
little
place.
salt shed, yes, will
That'll go away this year too.
disappear, yes.
Okay.
You know, some scrub brush, excess piles of fill. I mean, obviously we have some topsoil there that we're gonna be spreading out. We're gonna try and get the infiltration pond completed, which means, you know, the south and north property line, getting the topsoil spread seeded, and obviously try and get those trees in. So, yes, the whole property will be cleaned up. I mean, where the 8 slabs, the parking, that'd be based out, so everything drains properly to that infiltration pond.
Well, that would be my concern. Like I said, if you're taking down, as ugly as that fence is, it does block the view of what's over there. But if you're cleaning that up, then I guess missing the fence won't seem quite as bad as what, you know, if you left all the junk there, that'd be.
Yes, no, all the junk will be cleaned up for sure.
Jennifer, if we had many people previously complaining about that fence, the condition, the way it looked, and the inability to work with the property owner to correct anything. If we get a year into this and the landscaping isn't being done, or it's not being done well, or there are some other types of problems, what's the procedure for the conditional use permit to be revoked?
There's a process outlined in the zoning code, but it's basically through a public hearing. So they have to be notified and it goes through a hearing. You have to have reasons. So it would be that they weren't working with us on it, but most likely this would end up in court, I would think. It's typically how we have to handle when our site plans aren't being completed properly. And they don't work with us to do that, but there is a process in the code for revoking conditional uses.
And no disrespect, I just bring that up because I think there are a lot of very valid complaints in regards to the fence in the past, and I don't think there's a lot of trust, quite honestly,
Yes, I understand.
and probably with good reason.
Can we put a sunset date on a conditional use, Jen?
Yeah, you can put conditions on the conditional use. I kind of figured you would, so I actually have it.
But you can even state the phasing in it, right?
Yes.
Phase one now
Yeah.
says we have to have X done by
Yes.
November 1, 2023, or that's it,
Yes,
stops there.
that's
guess-
what I would suggest.
I would like to see those first 4 buildings with the fencing done as soon as possible, is what I would like to see personally.
Can you get those done this year?
24.
I don't believe we will get all 4 of the buildings up this year, no.
What would be a reasonable timeline next year? July 1st?
Yes,
So by November though, you could have the site cleared, the stormwater built, the fence on the west side built. It probably prohibits proper construction of those buildings if you have those 10-foot chunks of fence sitting there while you're, I see you buying another set of fence by the time you're done.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
those are gonna be affixed to the building too. I thought is what we discussed at that last meeting.
Yeah.
That's why these sections of fence, in between, what is there, 3 sections of fence in between the 4 buildings, we are not going to install until the buildings are up.
It says they're being installed in phase 1 right
Yeah.
now, though. That's why I was
Okay,
concerned on
catch.
some of this. Because these phases aren't saying what you're saying that. is
So for phase 1, by November 1, can we have first lift of asphalt here on the blue shaded area? Everything that's green in this picture. So we'll have the existing fence removed. That goes onto some neighbor's property too, right?
I'm not,
It may be.
yeah, I'm not exactly sure. It was supposedly staked out back when and wasn't, but I'm not, I can't
You'll have a
say for
survey
sure.
of this, you'll have a surveyor lay out where the actual fence goes, so
Yeah.
we play in bounds.
The property pins are present.
Sure. Okay. So yeah,
It's
like,
just hard to navigate through a fence that, does this and this and, so I can't say that it's, obviously, it's all going to be restored properly, so.
you would be able to put the fence on the west side, right?
Yeah, the west, the
west
portion
tower.
kind of around the infiltration pond.
Well, I think just that the neighbors will see some activity over there, I think will hopefully speak volumes to them that there is some good things in the future for that site, and that they'll see that activity this summer with the work that's being done, the cleaning up, the putting in the bushes and the shrubs and just a general cleaning, and that, it's positive.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not all gonna get done this summer, we all know that, but at least we're trying to move in the right direction.
Does it help you to pour the slabs this year?
I would like to try and get 2 poured, yes.
Four. We're gonna put 4 buildings on the north.
What's that?
If phase 2 is 4 buildings on the north side, would we pour all 4 slabs in if we're gonna pour them this year yet?
We will definitely try, yes. I mean,
Should establish it.
I'll obviously have to get this approved, then I have to go through, schedule, building permit, all of that, correct? I mean, state permitting or.
You're not gonna put a slab until you select the building, right?
Right,
Yeah.
which, that's what I mean, I'm going to have to pull building permits and,
Well, this was supposed to be the site plan review with this, so that's why they're asking you what you're building And what?
Excuse me?
This was the site plan review for this. That's what this was supposed to be. They submitted a site plan for review.
Yes,
So
yeah.
if you're changing things,
Why, what am I changing?
well, they're asking you to change some things.
No, I don't think we're asking him to change anything necessarily. It's I think the simple way to look at this would be to ask them to complete phase one with the addition of the landscaping in phase two by the end of this year, with the intention of construction of the buildings to follow by July of the following year.
Well, these site plans are getting attached to the conditional use permit. So that's why I am trying to figure out what they're doing, so that I have something to hold on to.
So
Yeah, I
we
don't
can
think-
give you that direction though,
Yeah,
right?
so I don't think anybody has an issue with the site plan as it's presented, right?
Some of it's not correct.
Clarification of the phase.
Yeah, because right now, the fence, I mean, from what I'm hearing, that the fence, those little pieces are, I mean, that makes no sense to put in until all four of those buildings are there.
Right.
So right now, that phasing plan shows it, so they're gonna need to make some modifications. So I'm just trying to figure out what those modifications are as you guys are talking through this.
Given modification is the acceleration of the landscape.
Well, right now, that's in two, phase two.
Right, that's what I mean, you're gonna accelerate that to one.
So put landscaping from 2 into 1, and then remove all of the fencing requirements from that north and south piece on the east side of the storm sewer pond thing. Yeah, from there all the way to the east, all of that fence is not required in phase 1, but still around the pond is.
Right.
So we block that and say that for safety, right?
All refuge and buildings inside that unit.
Do you want us to make this as part of the motion and then just have you for all of them?
All demo to be completed.
I'm
in-
taking notes and then I will be working with Dan to get new plans or updated plans.
Because if he's taken down that fence and everything, I think it needs to be in phase one that property will be cleaned, buildings demolished, you know.
Yeah, which,
I believe,
Like I said,
yeah, remove existing fence, existing snow storage building, clear and grub construction area, so that is.
I have everything on there as phase one except for the three little pieces. Fence being phase two, so that'll get moved.
But now was phase one, did it have the two proposed buildings?
Yes, phase one is two buildings and then right now.
It is two slabs.
Two slabs.
Right. Well,
Not the
okay, I
buildings.
need to change that too, because it's showing proposed buildings.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, of showing the
I mean,
buildings, not.
we don't care if it's 2x4 construction or steel studs, right?
No, as
And he
long as it
doesn't,
meets code.
and he
As long as it
doesn't,
meets code,
he
right?
doesn't know which way it's gonna go, because he's having issues with,
Material.
yeah, stuff.
Yeah, that's what I said, I don't know if you can pour slabs if you don't know what the building is.
I mean, my hope is to pour these slabs this year, and if we can get a building in December, we can, then, you know, have a mild beginning of the winter, start putting them up.
Yeah, you'd have a leg up then on 2025,
Right,
or
but
2024.
Yes,
phase one is actually pouring the two slabs, not
Yes.
putting up the building. But you may be able to if you know,
if we can solidify, yes.
Phase two would be those four buildings and the fencing done,
right.
correct?
Correct.
And
You
then
think
first
that's-
let the asphalt.
You think July 1st of next year is a reasonable expectation for that?
But give yourself another month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
August,
now's the time to ask.
Yeah,
August 1st?
I just know how things go.
Sure.
I would say by September 1.
Nobody's getting a leg up this year.
So September 1 of 24 then for phase 2. Phase 1 is, drop that date is November 1, 23. phase two is September one, you're good with that?
Yes,
We'll complete the north 4 buildings,
and the fence.
the fence. And then are we gonna leave the asphalt as is, or should we put asphalt in front of the 2 completed or 4 completed buildings?
I would like to get the two of the southern slabs poured and then get the asphalt, yes, in between those 4 eastern slabs, just to ensure proper drainage.
It's kind of the last thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And then what, December 31st of 25? Done?
Well, do you need till December? You're not rolling asphalt in December.
No,
Rolling asphalt, drop that date.
October 31st.
November.
Yeah, they're usually done by the 15th of November.
yes, we can say November 1st. I just don't know if the final coat is going to get put down in 2025. It is like pulling teeth to get asphalters to,
I suppose I would come in and ask for an extension.
Right on that, I don't know that you necessarily want to put asphalt down going into the fall. No.
not a top coat, no. That's why, another reason I would like to hold off till 2026 to put the second lift. Everything will be asphalted at the end of 2025, just not top coated.
So then we need a phase 4 then, is that on here? We need to make a phase 4 then, right?
No, I just made in the phase 3 notes.
Crazy to put an asphalt and not top coated. That's pretty standard, don't wait until the next year.
Yeah,
Well, and you look at the buildings over by Gary, the storage units there, they still don't have the top coat asphalt, and they've got potholes that make Michael jealous.
There's no curb though on this, right? But it's a little better, otherwise you end up with that lip difference in concrete.
I guess, can we ask, there is some neighbors there, if they have any issues or concerns? This isn't a hearing.
it's not a hearing, no.
But can I
guess that's,
ask them
I
to
guess that's
speak on my behalf?
Planning Commission's prerogative.
I think that's kind of what I raised earlier, was we heard from, I don't know, half a dozen neighbors, I think.
Right, but
But
now
they were
there's a couple
all-
of them here that are listening to what we're proposing.
They were all sent the agenda.
Pardon?
They were all sent the agenda.
But there's some here, yeah.
And I did touch base with some at the end of the last time I was here.
I thought I could make a request to have someone speak, and if the
You can, if the rest of the planning.
planning commission has a problem with it.
I have no objection as long as it
I'm
doesn't turn
always
into
interested
a.
in hearing the public's opinion.
Okay, Roger, do you have any comments on what you're hearing?
I just wanna know what you're going to do with that big shed in that house
You should have him give his name.
on that
Roger,
property.
state your name and.
There's a house on that
State
property.
your name and address.
Oh, Roger Easker, I live at 6811 Fife Avenue.
Go ahead, continue, thank you.
Okay. I would like to know what's going to be done with that big shed that's there and that house that's on that property.
I believe.
Using it.
The house is, if the zoning has changed, the house is illegal.
They've been using it as a home.
Huh?
They've been using it as a rental since Jeff lived there. So it is a non-conforming use, but it's allowed to exist until they stop it for a certain period of time.
And some of your other neighbors agreed to leave it last meeting.
It's essentially.
I want to say that was the general consensus,
It
but
can remain a home as long as they don't stop for a year on utilizing it as one.
Okay.
And the shed is coming down, correct?
the salt shed is coming down.
Salt shed, there's a big shed that.
The other shed is
That's
remaining.
staying. There's a business in there.
It's used for, they got it rented out, it's full of records.
It's a towing company. They've been in there for a number of years.
Does this conditional use have to include those other uses, or those two just happen independent of each other and?
They will already exist. You're only dealing with this use.
No, I understand that, but
Yeah.
for clarity, do we attach a copy of that to this, so it's not lost and hey, this happened in 2012 and what happened?
Well, this is all getting attached, so
Sure,
everything they
but
provided,
the
it
current,
shows existing buildings.
Okay.
They're not removing them.
so when that house that we're concerned with sits vacant for 3 years, or if Rod's Towing moves out, there's no more time.
Well,
I'm just saying for clarity
The
for,
towing company went through and got a zoning, they have zoning. So they're fine.
Okay.
If somebody else comes in and they rent it out, they'd have to go through the same process anybody would. So it has to meet whatever the current zoning is at the time. And with the home, as soon as they stop using, I mean, I questioned that before, but I was given the rental stuff from Mr. Nowak, so they've been utilizing it.
And I know I made mention that we would tear it down last time and everybody kind of put a stop to it. So.
okay,
I just have a question on these fans. You said you can't put them on the berm to raise it? Why can't you?
Well, no, because we are getting an 8-foot tall vinyl fence. We cannot berm because how the asphalt drains in between those buildings, we can't berm it up because it has to hit the drainage swale on the
Yeah.
north and south property line.
If my direction is correct, the fence is on the west side of the pond.
there's also fence between the buildings.
Fence in between.
I'm sorry, what was that?
There's pieces of the fence in between buildings if you look at the
Correct,
plan.
yeah,
Right there.
but I'm just talking about around the pond.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a spillway coming out of the pond.
There's nothing in there really. On the west side, what is on the west side?
If I remember right from the stormwater pond, there's a overflow that then goes over into the wetlands. On the west side there. So if we berm that up, I guess you'd be restricting where that water can go in the event it needs to overflow.
So the water gonna go under the fence?
Yes, the water will
Yeah,
go under
it's
the
not
fence. Yeah, it won't be tight.
I believe there's a ditch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's an overflow.
Yes.
You even can.
There kind of is a
pipe in
berm there already, yeah.
To lead the water there,
I suppose, yeah, they could.
yeah.
What's on that side though? Is it just wetland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big wetland.
I mean, what is putting a berm in there gonna accomplish, I guess?
To raise the fence.
But there's nothing over there that anybody's,
Then why we put the fence in there?
to secure the property.
Security of the property.
Security for your, okay, all right.
Remember, right, that was the access route that they were using to
To get in
sneak
and
in to
out,
get
yeah.
into the auto parts.
Yes,
That,
Yeah,
the fence will stop them, but.
you have enough, Jen.
we'll go around through the
We had to know for years.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah,
stop
I'm
the-
gonna have to write for conditional use based off of what you guys have done.
Get your feet a little wet, so what?
Anybody have anything else or?
Just on the lighting, can you pull up the lighting plan, Michael?
Yep.
I think you always gonna ask that.
In some of those areas, it's 0, which I surely wanted 0 at the lot line and on the north side especially, but at the ends of the buildings, is this okay? Is that security risk, threat, et cetera? I can run into other cars that are here, whichever, at night.
Is there gonna be a light above all overhead doors on the
No.
building?
Just where the red dots are gonna be wall packs. And then it shows the foot candles in the little, like that's 0 there to the, it's 0.2. At the north side of that building. It's 0.1 or 0.4 on the way west side of that other building. Which is very, very dim, so.
They're just more down,
I don't know, but would anyone travel that way though?
they're more down pointing wall packs because we don't want a true wall pack that emits light down and out because there's not a lot of control there. And I know some of the neighbors were worried about light pollution, so that's why we chose a wall pack that more is like an eyebrow and the light casts more down than out. That is quite a bit of light. I see what you're saying about the, so to speak, dark areas. Could we add one on the end of those buildings? Yes. At least on one building in between each.
You
Yes,
probably
I
could get
do
away
see
with
what
doing
you
that.
mean,
That would take
yes.
care of those dark spots and still
Yes,
prevent light pollution to the north.
yes, yeah.
The dead cars don't care, but
I think that would be a good idea.
by your gate, is there a light? Doesn't show any lights there.
No, I can't remember if there is, but there will be when I sent this to Edco Electric for design, I just had them design the new buildings.
Sure.
But I would like to put a wall pack, a larger one, on the facing south of that existing building that would illuminate the gate area. I thought about a light pole, but then, you know, as you come in from Ryan Street, but then, you know, the house and it's shining in there, you know, living room, so.
It's your pleasure.
Jennifer, do we want this to come back, or do we want to just be clear with Jennifer what she's got for notes and just put it in her report? I don't need to see it back, it's.
It's up to you guys.
I think we gave you enough. I'm comfortable making a motion and not having to have these gentlemen come back here again.
Okay, so I'll take a,
Done their due diligence.
yeah. So I move to approve the conditional use permit 2022-0392 and the accompanying site plan to construct and operate a personal storage facility within the LI zoning district, with the applicant working with staff to review the concerns brought forth in this meeting.
Second.
Motion by Jordan, second by Deason. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess if the neighbors have something, they should bring it to staff, right? Concerns or questions?
Other, contact staff, yeah. All right, item number 9, new business. Project number 20230021, specific implementation plan approval for 6207 Business Highway 51, Tidal Wave Auto Spa, Cage Engineering Incorporated, TWAS Properties LLC, Kensington Development Partners on behalf of owner MKB Weston 2 LLC, PIN number 192-2808-001 192-0987.
All right, so, this project was brought forth to you guys, in the previous meeting for a rezone, which was approved. There was a couple things brought up at that meeting that have been addressed since then. A recorded easement has been provided to staff, which does allow access to the car wash and festival booth and vice versa. Waste management has approved the garbage plan. And lastly, the disturbance area is 1.19 acres. That means the DNR needs to approve the stormwater management plan. Staff has not yet received that plan because it is still being reviewed by the DNR. Last week, I received an email from Brad saying that he expects that to be back to him within 1 to 2 weeks. So it should be this week or that will be in staff's hands to look at. So the stormwater management plan will need to be a condition on approval of the site plan. I know snow storage was also something that was brought up, so they did provide that. And they always have the opportunity to just haul it away as well.
They work out, that this address is gonna be on Volkman?
We have not done that yet.
Okay, but that's your,
That's my recommendation.
that's your recommendation, yeah, that's what I thought. All right, I kinda, that back of this building now up against the chain link fence that's on the west side of Mockmuller, how close are they gonna come to that excavating into that hill? Do we know that?
They're rebuilding a retaining wall.
Yeah.
Well, right now,
And
there's no retaining wall.
you have Brad Hovanek with Gage Civil here. I'm here to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Yeah, so that chain link fence is up here.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're proposing this retaining wall. I guess I don't have a dimension.
Because right now, the grass just goes right down to the asphalt.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking
so
like probably about 40.
In the back there, we don't plan on coming very close to that chain link fence. That's off of our property. That's within, there is an adjacent property right there. Just a small strip before you get to the right of way. Most of that open area to the east of the retaining wall that you see, most of that, it is a pretty steep slope coming down. We don't really plan on touching that to limit our disturbance area. There will be, I guess, east of that retaining wall, maybe, 10 feet, just due to the construction of that retaining wall. But beyond that, we don't really plan on touching that area with construction.
So your retaining wall that you're referring to that goes around the corner there, what's the height of that on the east side?
Yeah, the height, give me a second here.
I think it's gonna vary.
It will vary. I can give you the maximum height that we'll have though. Give me a second while I pull this up. It's not too terribly tall. Let's see. Yeah, our height, it looks like we're around 7 feet at the most, 8 feet at the most. That really comes, that 7 and 8 feet is along the southern portion of it between the property line and the development.
And this is still gonna go to DNR for stormwater?
It will, yes. Yeah, it's in review right now.
Something else to say about that.
I guess, so if it's been sent to the DNR, I'm guessing you're using some kind of underground storage treatment system?
We are using a device for TSS removal. It's on the west side of the property, which all of our storm water drains through the storm sewer, which ultimately gets to this TSS removal device. I don't remember exactly what one we're using, but it's like a Contech or storm trap device that basically filters out any of the sediment.
Yeah, so you're not looking to use a traditional pond, you're looking for some kind of structure treatment.
Correct. Yeah, we explored the pond option, but as you can see by the site plan, we're pretty packed in here. This property is not too large and not really able to fit anything other than a car wash or a smaller skinny building like we have here. So we figured that this was the perfect use for it, which was part of the reason that this property was selected for this development. So yeah, we're other than all of the elements associated with the car wash that we're putting in, there's not much additional room to fit any above ground stormwater management.
So how do you get the water from the snow melt to your pond?
There is no pond, they'll have storm sewer then.
Right, yeah. Is he gonna
Yes.
distribute that?
Yeah, there's storm sewer scattered around the site. There's a couple catchments, like stormwater manholes that capture water, send it to a storm sewer, which they're all routed to the west side of the property where there is that treatment device, which then discharges to a storm sewer within Volkman Street, which is currently where storm sewer is, or stormwater is draining to right now before the development.
So Michael, they can discharge it directly?
As long as it's treated, so it'll be an underground treatment structure device that'll filter out the TSS. So with it being a redevelopment, infiltration doesn't come into play. So it's just the suspended solids removal. So essentially
Removal of 60% or 80%?
40%.
40%?
Yeah. So it's like Aldi's over there. They have an underground system. Walgreens has an underground system.
Yeah. Okay.
Has Safer and MPD looked at the plan? And you're good, you don't have any, you can get your equipment in there. On where the exit to this wash is there any water that's gonna come out of there? The reason I ask this question is they may or may not have had to break up the parking lot and your competitors, not only because they built it too narrow, but because there was a lot of water coming out of their car wash in winter.
Yeah, the only water that'd be coming out of the car wash would be any cars that aren't fully dried off by the dryers that are inside the building. If they come out and they have some dripping water coming from their cars, that'd be the only thing. But other than that, all water from the building is routed to drains that are within the building. And one other thing I'll note is that on the southwest corner of the building, you can see like 4 rectangles next to each other. Those are all treatment devices that basically take the stormwater or any water from the building that goes into those drains. It sends it through these and it recycles it back through the building. So yeah, I believe it's about 67% of the water that is used is recycled and used again. So this development will, although it's a car wash that has a lot of water usage, it's planned to limit that and also plan to limit the amount of sanitary sewer discharge that we have by implementing those recycling devices.
So it's how many gallon per quarter?
Let me see here. So they approximate about 100 PE, which is what would that be? 10,000 gallons per day.
Is that 5 days a week or what?
It would be 7 days a week.
What's your pleasure? This isn't just An acknowledgement, yes, to approve this, correct?
Yes.
Have to approve
it's
this
approved. This is
SIP.
Okay.
SIP.
I'll move to approve the development of a tidal wave auto spa car wash based on the submitted specific implementation plan under the condition that DNR and staff approve the stormwater management plan.
Second.
Motion by Mumper, second by Pincinel. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? So carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone.
Staff reports, item number 11, or do you want to just take them all together? 11, 12, and 13. All right, February 2023, staff approved certified survey maps and site plans.
Move to unanimous.
Second.
Motion by Zagami, second by Ermeling. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 12, February 2023 building permits.
Motion to acknowledge.
Motion by Deason,
Second.
second by Zagami. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 13, acknowledge quarterly development agreements report.
Motion to approve. Acknowledge, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion by Ermeling, second by Mumper. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so carried. Miscellaneous, number 14, project updates.
Don't need them.
Oh, right.
So, at the, what is this, Mark? The February board meeting, the board, approved the terms of a development agreement for the property at the northwest corner of Birch and Schofield Avenue. So, I don't know when they plan to break ground on that, I think it's.
And they have to come through site plan approval here first.
Right, and there, yeah, so the development agreement terms are still being written up formally, so that'll be coming back to the board. Or actually, just be ready for signature once that's finalized.
I'd say you probably won't see it till May, just because your next meeting is April 10th, so we haven't received any plans yet to review, so.
Intercity State Bank also is making some revisions on their site plan.
We're reviewing that right now, they just don't have final elevations figured out, so they are now pushing that one to May 2.
And they also brought up the topic of a possible TIF ask, so I don't know what that is at this moment, but they brought that into the equation. Also, there's been, well, there's gonna be a meeting this week with representatives for Raleigh Lockray for the property west of Caribou Coffee. And I know that Raleigh and Kristen have talked about the pro forma and what his potential TIF ask will be.
They need to rezone a small piece of the property from behind it. It's just like I don't know how big the strip is, pretty small strip, to kind of even out the site. So we are talking about that Thursday. I anticipate them potentially asking for that at the next meeting.
And Project Timberwolf also indicated they were gonna make some kind of a TIF ask, so all those things, of course, are predicated on what can't they do but for TIF, and that's the same story we give everybody as well as Kristen, so we're just, kind of working with her. She's got, a little more experience on negotiating some of these things and what may be appropriate and so forth, so I guess when those come, they'll come to the board for development agreement terms.
Fuzzy's Taco Shop has submitted their facade, or they're working on submitting that. There was some confusion because the state likes to send things to the city
of Schofield for their approval letters, and therefore it ended up last week at the city of Wausau. And I'm asking.
Won't they approve it?
I don't know. So they are working to submit, we use the same system luckily, but their facade and their parking lot upgrades, and I think the liquor license goes to the board next week. All right, so.
Awesome. All good news.
And the east phase of the Weston Avenue reconstruction is out advertised for bids at this time?
Correct.
And the bid opening date is gonna be when?
April 8th, I do believe, or I might have the wrong date. 10th.
For reviewing the project behind Mount Olive, that piece of property that they purchased. They submitted that last week, so Aaron has that started. I have not looked at it yet.
Is that gonna go on the old nursery?
Yeah,
Okay, so it'll actually be out on Jelinek,
yeah,
correct?
it's closer to
Okay.
town. And they're it's not industrial recyclers. Valerie, what's the name of the recycling place out in the business park? Yeah. Well, there's a property out in the business park that they're looking at putting an addition on, so we're kind of working through that. And then also the old green glass building on Stella. Yes, so they're looking at doing something there too. And I've got to work through that one because we had to find the old site plan for that one because it was kind of strange.
It's like across the street from the old municipal center and then around the corner by American overhead door.
Yeah, it's right over there. It was like, at one point it was green glass, now it is an offshoot of,
Behind the office door.
yeah, behind the office door. The son has a separate business, like, for like lift desks and things like that.
We had like 20 free office chairs sitting out alongside the road when I drove by the other day.
Oh, really?
Free ones, huh? Are they buried in the snow now?
Probably.
They went pretty quick, actually.
Oh.
They were gone within a couple hours.
Oh, okay. Take, please.
Anything else?
I'm sure there's something, but I
Yeah,
can't think of it right
That's all right.
now.
All right, announcements and committee commissioner remarks. Dave? No. Jim?
Two things. One, thank you to staff and the commission for updating and implementing the changes to the code. We found that there's stuff, I know it's painful to do it, but it's the right way to do it. And then two, Keith, do you have, what was the direction or dollars set aside or earmarked in TID 1 for developer incentives? I know we had something in TID 2 to the tune of, I don't know, X that was recently reviewed.
I think it's kind of an open-ended item, actually.
So it's not dialed in like it was, or specific, like it was in 2.
I don't believe so. I can look it, I'll check into it, but I know there's probably a placeholder, if you will, and that's already it's subject to making changes depending on the particular project, so. You heard the number that they mentioned today, which was, a $20 million bill. I don't know what that means though in terms of assessed value. If there's manufacturing property or equipment involved, that won't be taxable. So we'd have to be evaluating their ask based on what the assessment may be and that kind of thing, so.
Okay. Joe?
So staff comments on our primary election and how things went here at the building. When I came through, parking was kind of an issue. And I'm just curious what you're thinking when we have a large turnout for a general election. And I don't need to, I mean, if you guys are working on something, I don't need to hear about it
That's
tonight.
the clerk's department. I have nothing to do with that. So you'd have to talk to Pam. She's working on a plan, so.
Yeah, well,
It's gonna be open on both sides too, so that may be different.
This got brought up in another meeting.
Oh, okay.
previously, So. Yeah. Roy?
Just, I saw it recently, if I remember correctly, the state Supreme Court ruled on the dark store issue. From an assessment standpoint, does that have any effect on Weston's assessments?
It's actually, basically, we don't need to worry about that problem anymore. is my
No, I just meant, did anybody in the past come back?
We've never had anybody do it.
Okay,
It was
that's-
talked about when Walgreens with that whole thing a number of years ago. And that's why the league was very involved in that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I was
it's like
wondering,
now.
did
that was a
anybody
good
utilize that?
mix.
Now we should.
Yeah, no, we never did get anyone.
But I mean, the ruling does help.
It does
in
help
the
us.
future, people coming around, especially if they would have ruled in, favor, then we would have seen all kinds of it.
Barb?
No.
No? Shane?
Just a question. Where is this car wash get the water?
From us.
From what well?
It'll be a Village of Weston water source.
Yeah, from what well?
I guess the system, I mean, they're closest to wells 1 and 5, just like Tommy's is.
He's gonna use about 3,360 gallon a year,
Yeah,
10,000 gallon a day, that's a lot. As long as we can manage it.
yeah. I mean, we'll have 2 new wells going in here, so.
Okay. I have two things. Number one, I'm extremely excited. There's a lot of really good things going on here this summer. I think it's gonna be a super busy spring for building from the sounds of it. So that's one. The other one, I'm gonna be out of the country from the 23rd through the 2nd. So if anybody needs anything, email would be best. I'll access that way. I don't have anything else. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Deason, second by Ermeling. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thanks, Rod.